It's the new thing that's sweeping the land when you don't know which way to go. The answer is Jesus and Elevation Radio.
God bless you. This is Elevation Radio 1, and I'm your host, Pastor Steve, the Music Man Turner. And we thank you for taking the journey with us. Oh, it's a cold day outside, but you can be warm inside with the love of God. So we want to give a shout out to God, who is the sponsor of this program. Our subject matter today is Dynasty Destroyer. Dynasty Destroyer. Can you learn to be humble? My God. Well, let's get into it. It is imperative that we as parents teach our children to reverence God. Even more important, that they see us reverencing God too. In this lesson from 1 Kings chapter 22, we learned that even the most wicked leader can obtain mercy if they would humble themselves. Oh my goodness. And that is a commandment. Humble yourself before the mighty hand of God. And it reads here in the verse, now Ahab has humbled himself. See what he has done. Because he has done this, I will not, during his lifetime, it will happen, I will destroy his dynasty. And God is saying that he was trying to prophet Elijah that Ahab and his family had to go. They were so evil. Ahab, in particular, was so evil that there was no king like him that sold himself to worship evil. And we must find and ask ourselves the question: are we actually doing what Ahab has done? Are we inadvertently worshiping evil, worshiping idols? And this is the season where we're supposed to be at least remembering Christ, where we seem to find ourselves worshiping every shiny, glossy, mechanical, technological entity that we can get our hands on. We work overtime to get money, not that we can put it in church, to help the poor, to help the widows. We do it to pad our own accounts and to stock our own houses with idols that do not give glory to God. Good God Almighty. We erect trees, which are in a pyramid form, to worship and erect in our homes, which, of course, is not really the ideal part for God to get glory out of. Now, so we have to look at who was Ahab, and that's spelled A-H-A-B. He was a king in Jerusalem. He married a Phoenician queen, Princess Jezebel, and she brought into the nation of Israel her desire to worship foreign and idealistic things, idols. That's where she grew up. That's her background, and she brought it in, and he didn't stop her. My goodness. She behaved badly. She was a liar. She was a murderer because he didn't have much of a backbone as a man, as a king, when he was looking outside the palace and saw that there was one of his subjects, Naboth, N-A-B-O-T-H, had a vineyard of grapes right outside his palace. He wanted to offer to buy the vineyard from him, give him a good price, and create a good product. But Naboth said, no, I spent my family for all this time. I can't sell to you. This is my inheritance. And so this produced a response where the king Ahab went into his chamber, his bedroom, and closed the door and began to cry and sob and wet the sheets up, being very upset. And it said that Isabel came in to find him weeping like a woman. And what is the problem? He cried, "Neighbor won't give me the vineyard. I tried to give him a good price, but he won't give it to me." She said, "Are you not the king of Israel? Are you not in charge?" Well, I'll tell you what, you just rest here now. I will get it for you. Yeah. So that's kind of where the beginning of the bossy and cantankerous woman spoken of in Proverbs was where there's like a dripping faucet. It keeps plucking your nerves. So when he abdicated his authority and let her do it, she set up false witnesses. She began to lie on Naboth and caused him to be killed. And he suffered an unfair punishment. And that's to get too far. I was watching a movie that kind of fit in this program, into this profile. It was called When They See Us, about 5 to 7 young black males who were allegedly did crimes to a jogger, a white female, in the park, Central Park, and seeing how the detectives and the police beat them and coerced them into false testimony and videotaped them, making assertions, teaching them what to say and how to lie, and then the false prosecution, even though they didn't have DNA samples. Just amazing how they took the lives of these young men and threw them in jail. And then I said to my wife, this has been going on forever. And it just didn't start here in America, but it's been going on for quite some time. So she was the inventor of the false witness. And then says we have not a high priest that has not been touched with the feelings of our infirmities, but at all points were tempted as we. So Christ himself was falsely accused. And I'm not sure, but there's someone out there, I mean, even myself have been falsely accused and faced jail time for something that I did not do. Oh my goodness, because of prejudice and racism. But be not dismayed, God will work it out. And so back to this lesson, it said that God was judging him. He sent a prophet to talk to him and to let him know that to get your house in order, that you're going to die. And I'm going to tell you how you're going to die. Going to set wild dogs to eat up the flesh of you and your family. That's pretty harsh. And so I said, when he heard the message from Elijah, the prophet, he knew that this prophet was telling him the truth, the absolute truth, nothing but the truth. So help us God. And he felt the imminent pressure of God, the Almighty. It says, a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the Almighty God. And he knew that God was not going to play with him, that he's going to kill all the males in his family. Something about the males. And so he began to mourn. He began to put on burlap. He began to cover himself with ashes. And he began to sulk and cry. And he reduced himself off his pride and ego. And I wonder, are we able to do that too? When we have been pronounced that we are going to suffer, are we able to stop the train of egotism and pride to listen to what God's man or God's woman is saying to us, to let us know that he always gives you a warning before he does what he does. He's a just God. And so, are we listening to the warning? Are we listening to the words that are coming in our direction? And so, God didn't just wipe the floor with him. He just didn't walk away. He looked upon him and saw that he became humble. And he told him, as you look how he humbles himself before me, how he is taking what you're saying seriously, how he's changing his attitude. Go back and talk to him and tell him I won't do what I with him because he humbled himself. I won't do it in his lifetime. Destroy his dynasty. And I think that's where we are today. We see our youth doing heinous, horrific, obnoxious, ungodly, criminal activity, and just horrible things that we can't even fathom or imagine. That God is repaying a debt, the sins of the fathers to the sons. My goodness. If you have any, you can call it 1-914-205-5353. That's 1-914-205-5353. How can we get ourselves out of this dilemma when God has said, I will destroy your dynasty, your legacy, your lineage? Nobody wants that. We see youth dying right and left. I understand that there was a rapper, Juice WRLD, only 21 years of age, just came to prominence by putting some songs and music, original on Spotify or SoundCloud, and getting some popularity. And someone asked me when they said that he died, was he doing drugs? And I said, no, I don't think they were. He was. He said he had an epileptic seizure, and that was what it was. And lo and behold, after further understanding, I discovered that, according to the news, that not only was he using drugs and marijuana and opioids, but he also had guns, weapons on the plane where he was at, which guns and weapons and drugs and opioids would equal drug dealing. And the Dynasty Destroyer. Drugs are killer of our future. And it's pretty paramount that the devil doesn't want to mess with anybody who ain't got loads of talent, who is not gifted, doesn't have something to offer, whether it's beauty or brains or just artistic skill. You've got to be careful. And if you've got issues and you wonder what happened, why you have to deal with certain things that you can't control, maybe that your grandfather or your step-grandfather or your father had done something that irritated God. You've got to find out about it and pray and ask God to deliver you. Humble yourself. There's been a lot of witchcraft and things of that nature that some folks have subjected their children to. Well, I might as well be plain. I recall being with a friend whose mother sold her into slavery as she was 15 years old down south. They sold her, really married her off to a middle-aged Baptist pastor. And she basically lost her mind with the hatred and disrespect and physical abuse that he did. Messed her up so she was really no good for anyone else. This is Dynasty Destroyer. Because whenever she was pressured, whenever she had issues, she would lock herself in a room, and even her children knew that not to wait another day because she was possessed with the evil spirits that she got through the relationship of her and the pastor. Good God Almighty. Some people have a lot to answer for, but it is imperative, it's possible to get out of the doghouse, spiritual doghouse that God is putting you in if you humble yourself. Let's take a break here. Now, if you would like to be a guest on this program, you can actually send me to radio 1, the number 1, at gmail.com, elevationradio1 at gmail.com. And we will review that and go from there. The 1st of December, we'll have a great guest, Reverend Henderson. Richard Henderson will be a guest on the program, and he is a person that is dealing with educating youth about the dangers of substance abuse, and he travels around the country and has a program that is designed to help youth to fulfill their purpose, which means that they can actually fulfill their destiny. He alerts it to saving lives, and that's exactly what we need here in this city of Baltimore. Yes, indeed. Now, speaking of something of this nature, when we talk about a subject like this, we can learn to be humble. Dynasty Destroyer. I give you an example. There were two. Was a 17-year-old mother and a 43-year-old grandmother. Amazing. Who took their 9-month-old with them as they and the sister to come up to Baltimore from Glen Burnie to purchase heroin and opioids, and they somewhere along the line, the child began to take one of those pills, if I'm not mistaken, and began to stop breathing, have difficulty. They were so in tune, or out of tune, with what was going on that they realized that the pill so was missing, so they got back in the car and drove back to Baltimore to get more pills to replace the pills they had lost. The pills in the miscarriage and things of that nature. Eventually, the child stopped breathing, and instead of calling 911, they spent time just taking care of themselves, getting high. And now they're sitting in jail. That child was the next in line of their dynasty, the next generation, but it was destroyed because they could not be humble. They could not put their priorities in place. We find here in this city now that we've seen on the news in Fox 5, 3 teenagers grabbed a man's wife and almost body slammed her on the street in broad daylight, stealing her car keys to carjack her vehicle. Dynasty destroyers. They've been destroyed. Now they're sitting in jail. We've got to do something to alleviate them. And when we allow our kids to just sit around the house all day and do nothing, okay, we don't tell them about God. We don't teach them about the Bible. We don't have Bible study in the home. We don't show that we love God. What do you expect them to do? Well, when we have a president who doesn't honor and put the nation first, when he tells reply subpoenas, could you and I do that? Could you and I just not show up for court or a subpoena or a summons? So what makes them special? This is what I'm talking about. Refuse to be humble. And if the president does it, they say, well, gee, I guess, well, I can do it too. 914-205-5353. It's 1-914-205-5353. The difficulty in trying to be humble is that it takes some strength. It takes some can do. It takes preparing yourself and realizing that you are not all that in a bag of chips. That God is much more stronger. He's much more powerful. You gotta be accountable. This is an imperative for you to survive. For you to continue on to do what you need to do, what you should be for, but don't take the mercy for granted. And that's important to know. Yes, during this time of the year, we'll take a little step break here, that I have written some books that I think might be good for this time of the year to give to someone. Want to get one to give away to someone else to bless their lives. The first book is called The Other Pulpit. The Other Pulpit. And to get that book, it chronicles life and times of your host, so that folks can understand that even though you have difficulty and an upbringing, that God can bring you up. He can bless you. It's not over. Yeah. And so it's The Other Pulpit, Life Lessons of a Leader. I advise you to check it out. And another book for the scholars, and some energy. And for those who just need encouragement, it's called Stormproof. Stormproof. Sermons designed to encourage you as you're going through. And you can get that by calling either 410-288-8788 on our Praise and Love VIP line and get that information. Order the book. Or you can call me directly at 1-410-302-2737. That's 1-410-302-2737. We'll be sure to help you out. If you'd like to get a CD, where's your good music in your vehicle or on your CD player, we have a CD for you that is only it's very affordable. You can call us, we can tell you about it, and it can give you some inspirational music for this time of year to help you. Alrighty. Again, if at any time that you would like to discuss anything with us or discuss our subject matter, this is our 94th episode of this program. So we have 90 other various guests that we've discussed and talked with, and feel free to go through our audio library and check it out. Get something for yourself that might inspire you to keep moving on. Also be advised that you can actually hear broadcast again at www.positivepower21.org. That's positivepower21.org through Spotify and iRadio and Spreaker. I think I got it right, under the direction of the CEO, Jerry Royce, longtime friend. All right. Well, we're going to actually get ready to go. But I want you to understand that if you humble yourself before God, you can actually avert. That means you can have a spiritual Passover where God can not bring destruction and death in your lifetime. Push it down to a couple of other generations, and you can make it. As an example, you're not too evil, too divisive, too wicked, that God want to have some mercy on you. He's a just and kind God. All right. Well, this has been another Elevation Radio 1 moment, and we thank you for your time. We'll be back again, God willing. Shalom. Bye.